Putting Pakistan's floods into perspective. Two events took place in South Asia that are worth comparing and contrasting. Across South Asia in Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, and China, higher than average monsoon rains hit the region. In Pakistan, this year's monsoon rains have proven deadly, as Sindh and Balochistan received over 700% more rain than usual, causing widespread devastation and deaths. The monsoon season comes after scorching summer weather that saw widespread drought and temperatures exceed 50 degrees Celsius. The high temperatures caused widespread drought in China and has seen Chinese authorities deploying drones and rockets to make clouds that produce rainfall, known as cloud seeding. Whilst China resorts to weather modification techniques, Pakistan continues to fail in dealing with floods even though they take place annually. Pakistan has a long history of floods and heavy rain. The monsoon season comes at the end of the summer season, which has seen temperatures reach world records levels. These temperatures lead to the sea temperature to increase, which in turn increases monsoon rainfall. The heavy downpour started in June, and the monsoon has affected more than 33 million people as well as 110 of Pakistan's 160 districts. Nearly 300,000 homes have been destroyed, numerous roads rendered impassable, and electricity outages have been widespread. Local media reports show at least 83,000 livestock have died in this latest rain season. Pakistan's Dawn newspaper reported that more than half of Pakistan was currently underwater. The key question that needs to be asked is if the monsoon season causes widespread destruction on an almost annual basis. With Pakistan having a history of such floods, what planning and preparation is there to deal with such a crisis? Ali Tawka Sheikh, an Islamabad-based independent expert on climate change, explained to Al Jazeera, in 2010, the floods were riverine in nature, which means they mostly impacted areas around the Indus River and they were mostly predictable. This time, there are multiple types such as urban flood, flash flooding, and floods caused by glacier burst. The frequency of heavy flooding is also increasing. What we are seeing here in the country is a development deficit. It is not only the excessive rain which is causing the issue, but rather the inadequate preparation. Pakistan signed up to the Hyogo framework, which aims to better equip countries and communities to deal with disasters, and the government in 2013 approved a National Disaster Risk Reduction (DRR) policy. Despite this, the country's century-old water management system will continue to be overwhelmed during heavy rains until the government invests in an overhaul of the nation's infrastructure. The Pakistan government responded to the current floods by declaring a state of emergency and seeking foreign help after the disaster reached epic proportions. This is the usual way the government responds, but on this occasion it's blaming climate change, rather than mobilizing in advance when the monsoon season always brings chaos. Successive governments in Pakistan have taken a reactive approach, moving after the disaster, rather than planning prior to the event. Whilst one could argue that Pakistan is a poor country and it will take time to implement a disaster policy, one would have to ask, what is the point of half of Pakistan government budget going towards debt repayments, when the debt is not even used to protect the lives of the people? In all the areas that would help Pakistan for the future, such as education, health, and infrastructure, these receive minor amounts in the national budget. They are completely dwarfed by the military budget and debt repayments. This highlights the real issue in the country. The government doesn't represent the masses, but a very narrow elite. The fact that successive international reports and domestic reviews highlighted after each flood the lack of infrastructure, the lack of disaster recovery plan, and a reactive rather than proactive approach shows the issue is not the climate, but a political one, that of actually caring for the peoples and then executing plans and strategies to protect them. The previous plans and policies that were announced never saw the light of day and were in all cases never followed through, further confirming the fundamental problem. What does this have to do with China? China has also suffered in the past from extreme temperatures, which affects its agriculture as well as wide-scale floodings. But rather than using a reactive approach, China has resorted to weather modification techniques to influence where it rains and to stop rains too. China now regularly fires silver iodide rockets into the sky when it needs rain. China used the same cloud seeding method over Beijing before the 2008 Olympic Games in order to have a dry Olympic season. Chinese authorities also use the weather modification technique to ensure the sky is clear when needed and also to lower air pollution. Cloud seeding is a type of weather modification technique that aims to change the amount or type of precipitation that falls from clouds by dispersing substances into the air that serve as cloud condensation. This alters the microphysical processes within the cloud. The difference between Pakistan and China is whilst Pakistan's rulers talk about the nation being great, this is only to really serve for domestic consumption, rather than the rulers undertaking any action to improve the nation and to turn it into a power. China, on the other hand, sees itself as a great power and is therefore proactive in identifying all the risks the country faces, from political, economic, military, social to natural, and has provided the finance and expertise to solve these issues and mitigate them well before they occur. When we compare the response to disasters between China and Pakistan, we find the Chinese are being proactive and working to alter the weather, whilst in the case of Pakistan, the rulers, despite knowing the rains are coming each year, predictably react the same way as successive governments have in Pakistan's history. This is, to move well after the event.